more just in parking that's ready to go for you to develop. There is a small existing kind of a pole barn building down here. We're just leaving it for now, so it's whatever's built there. That could be like a construction temporary shed or shelter, whatever, and then could be removed. But to the bottom here, all that concrete gets crushed up into like gravel. And these trees over here in this area gets removed, it gets compacted, and actually if it's compacted correctly as it's supposed to be, that can actually be built on as well. So that might be a little bonus area. Maybe that's parking or something like that, even if we don't want to build on it for any reason. But we'll have this host site here, like I said, in the middle of October. It does have a restriction of 5 years before anything can be built on it. Now that's nothing that we just randomly put out. That was part of the grant stipulations. That was through the OCRA and Indiana 15 Nathan held here. He helped a lot with it. He can kind of tell us some of the restrictions on it. But my goal is to have this now, because 5 years will go by quick. Believe it or not, it will. But I want to start looking for grant opportunities and planning of what could be there rather than wait till the 5 years and then do something. And this downtime gives us that opportunity. But while we have that downtime, this isn't just going to be grass here, like as it's greenest in this like Photoshop version. We're actually going to plant wildflowers there for pollinating and so forth. Because then you don't have to kind of, mow it down or brush hog it or whatever once or maybe a year, 2 years, so that cuts down on maintenance and upkeep that we would have to do. And pollinating, as you know, is very important, and having Purdue next door, Sarah and I have had some conversations about this. It's going to have a lot of benefits. So, well, in that 5 years, it's something that might be very beautiful with nature, and it'll have this asphalt drive, or maybe, we don't know if we're out walking up there or not around it during that 5 years, but we'll just have to see. What we don't want to see is vandals and people get hurt and illegal dumping. And it will be gated off. So there will not, cars and traffic will not be able to drive back in there. Because what we've seen now is lots of illegal dumping on this side, mattresses, kids' toys, and what have you. We want to prevent that from occurring in the future. That's it in a nutshell. Do you have any questions? So I've already introduced Nathan Held. I have my administrative assistant, Janice Hackbart's back there. We also have a council member, and this is his work Ward 1, Larry Klingman. Council member at large, Joe Gately, which is Oklahoma City, and our clerk treasurer, Connie Berger. And we also have several department heads here as well. So, are there any other elected officials? All right, good deal. And we have Aaron, and Strauss, and Whitney back there with the PCDs, and we're very grateful that they helped bring this on. So, that's all I have.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll jump in a little bit further about the site.
All right.
Well, I'll give you some instructions to keep in mind as we work together here. We might have a little bit of time to grab lunch in between now and then. So, looking at general site analysis, what I'm able to find, thinking about Purdue, about the site, relevant plans in the community. You do have a lot of plans. You have an up-to-date comprehensive plan done in 2022, and it's important to bring those things off the shelf and have a look at them when you have something like this. What does the plan call for? And then a little bit about Perry County demographics. So, this was before the site was cleaned off, I suppose. It had a certain soil characteristic. It was well drained. It was level with some forest. The forest would be the natural, the natural growth on the site if it were like the rest of the area. There is some forested area to the south. I think he alluded to it as being cleared off and compacted again. There's no floodplain, so there's no real restrictions on what you can build within the site. Commercial and residential use around the site. It's across the street from that big Walmart there with about a strip mall in front of it. And then there's some single family housing around the site as well. So you're going to have to think about, okay, if we're going to do something on the site, what are the neighbors going to say? How's it going to impact the people that live there as well? We did have about 105 parking spaces. That's a huge asset. As the mayor said, it's about $1 million in parking spaces alone. How could those be used in support of some sort of use in the now or in the future? And then let's look at in between two communities. We have about 9,000 people living in Bell City and also Hamilton, down to the south there. So all the people in those areas would come to the site if it were a recreation use or if it were a commercial use. That's kind of the market context. Owned by Tell City, that's a great fact, because Tell City has control of the site. So they're here talking, asking for ideas. To get to the site, probably have to take a car or bike. There's no sidewalks to the site currently. It's 2 miles outside of downtown Tell City, about a mile and a half to Hamilton, and then state highway connection on 66 there, which is a nice asset to have as well. There's slopes, not actually on the site. That's an old picture of the hospital when it was there, but you can see the contour lines being very close together. Those are 10-foot contours, so every line indicates a 10-foot drop from the line in front of it. So it's about 100 feet from the site down to the river. And the site also exists in a watershed, which we want to bring your attention to from an environmental standpoint. Whatever happens on the site is going to affect the broader area and the Ohio River itself as well. So relevant plans. The 2022 comprehensive plan, as I mentioned earlier, the land use indicated in that plan. So in a comprehensive plan, they do land use for the whole community out about 20 years. And in the future land use section, it's indicated as commercial. You can see it's down here, the little blue star across from Walmart. So there's some guidelines for that, which I'll mention, and they can kind of guide your conversation. But do keep in mind that this is just a future land use. The actual zoning of the parcel can change and accommodate different things. So in commercial, new development should minimize curb cuts. Not really an issue on the site here. Shared driveways, so it does have one driveway to the site. Currently, shared parking should be encouraged. That's something to consider because the site does have an abundance of parking. And then large scale commercial should be encouraged to locate along Imperial Street, which it is on kind of with being on the state route there. Looking at recreation and land use, so the Pell City Recreation Plan is incorporated into the comprehensive plan here. One of the strategies that it mentions is to facilitate new activities and programming for specific age groups within the city, with an emphasis on youth, family, and the elderly. So I've got another chart that shows you just how many people fall into each one of those categories in Perry County, not necessarily Pell City, but they'll be using the site as well in the future. The recreation action steps here continue to support and implement the creation of sports complexes and improve existing sports facilities. So the plan calls for maybe some kind of sports use. So the plan calls for identifying locations for a YMCA or a youth center within the city and being within the city boundary there to qualify for that. And then natural resource strategy down there, 9.2, identify potential sites along the river for active or passive recreation. So we have a future trail that passes way down by the river. Maybe the site connect to that somehow. What's the long-term plan for that as well? So all of those things are things to consider as we move into talking about the site. Here's the demographics of Perry County. Here you have Gen Z, you have millennials, you have Generation X, baby boomers, the size of the generation, and how they break down between male and female. So it's fairly split between all the generations, but we do have a lot of millennials and Generation Z, and we have baby boomers are the two sort of dominant segments. So as we think about people's interests or desires or capabilities, physical abilities, in terms of recreation or the ability to get outside and look at things, have those things in mind. But overall, in Perry County, the population itself hasn't varied too much since 1970. So over the last 50 years, it's really stayed between 18,800 to 19,300. So it's a remarkably stable place, Perry County. And that kind of wraps it up. So I have a video tour of the site. We're going to show you what that looks like. Raz has put together a great video. I'm going to try this. You're not seeing it.